Now it's time for Media Watch. James Creedon is with us in the studio. It's good to see you, James.
Likewise, Laura.
And you're talking a bit about our top story tonight, that enormous truck bombing right in the centre of Kabul, hitting civilians mainly, people going to work, going to school, going to the shops, busy rush hour. And you've got some images of what happened right after.
I mean, it's awful. There's a huge amount about it on social media, so I won't spend too much time on it because it is really grim. And the images, I suppose, speak tell that story. You can see there the depth of the blast. That's showing an idea of the magnitude of the attack. That shows the German embassy in Kabul. You can see all the windows blown out. This is an image showing a man prostrated on front of a barrier there, saying, and the caption saying that that it shows the horror and the senselessness of war. And another man, I can't seem to find the image of him, but I had an image of a man with his hands thrown up in the air, very despairing. Now, as often is the case with these attacks, you have people saying, hold on a minute, shouldn't the same coverage be... shouldn't we see the same coverage no matter where the attack takes place? Grief has no accent, etc. Some then tweeting the mayor of Paris, Anne Hidalgo, saying, well, what about the Eiffel Tower this evening? What colour are you going to light it up in this evening? Well, actually, she said, we're going to turn it off. But if you go on the official Twitter account of the Eiffel Tower, Laura, where they say that it is going to be shut off this evening, and you scroll down a little bit, you can see that it was also shut off yesterday evening because they were paying tribute to the victims of the Baghdad attack.
The ice cream parlour, right.
That's the third time in 2 weeks the Eiffel Tower has been shut off. Maybe, as I was saying earlier to a colleague, we should just shut it off permanently until humanity sort of gets its act
turn it on
together.
When we have a day of no
when we have a day
bombings,
of no tragedy.
Goodness me.
And actually this debate came back last week in the aftermath of the Manchester attack. This is a Fox News commentator saying, what does this accomplish? This is a debate that comes back recurrently in France, where this gesture has been sort of made, and of
it's
course,
often lit up with flags, isn't it?
That's right. And J.K. Rowling responded to that last week, saying, well, actually, it accomplishes the aim of expressing compassion, respect and solidarity. Of course, it's not always easy to get the balance right, but certainly it's been shut off quite a few times in the last 2 weeks, which is not a good sign of the state of affairs globally.
No, not good at all. Shall we move on then and talk about some slightly more light-hearted stuff?
Well, there were lots of kind of light-hearted and crazy stories that I wanted to talk about today, and then Kabul happened, and there was a lot of stuff about that on social media as well. But to sort of change the tone somewhat, there was the Donald Trump Twitter kerfuffle. One sec, I'm all over the place.
Covfefe, how are we saying it? Covfefe?
He wanted to say...
Coverage, I think. Coverage. Despite all the negative media coverage, I think.
That's right.
And then he seems to have fallen asleep or dropped
his phone,
his nightcap on the computer.
Or he was multitasking. Who knows? In any case, it lit up Twitter, as they say.
Invented a new word.
It lit up Twitter. So then you had people were trying to define what does covfefe mean, and you see now international diplomacy, etc.
Could be Spanish.
Politics is just memes now. That's all it is. It's memes, tropes, and trolls. That's what it's come to. Maybe he's born with it. Maybe it's not Maybelline, but covfefe. And then the best one, well, make America covfefe again. But the best of all were these invented superheroes who responded. I have been summoned, no, and then the wizard covfefe says, no, it is me, it is I who have been summoned. It just got crazier and crazier.
He even joked about it himself, didn't he?
He did.
Hours later.
He did. I suppose he had no choice but to. But speaking of orbs, because you see there was a mention of orbs in there.
Yeah.
Now, you remember last week in Saudi Arabia, or maybe it's 2 weeks ago now, I think, isn't it?
It was quite bizarre, wasn't it? He and all the Saudi royals got around a globe.
They touched an orb, and as I said, international diplomacy is now just memes, tropes and trolls, because even the Nordic prime ministers were poking fun at Trump for that image. Now, that dates a day or two ago. You see, I'm going through a series of stories here to show how crazy everything's got. Now, what's next? I'll try to get through them. We have only 1 minute left. Meanwhile, in the UK, you've got Lord Buckethead campaigning against Theresa May. Have you seen this guy? This is a guy who wants to be elected as an MP.
This is the new Screaming Lord stuff.
Can you see him there? That is somebody who wants to be elected, and I think he's wearing a bucket on his head. And his only policy for now, apart from unseating Theresa May as a campaign plan, is to make Adele a national monument. Meanwhile, between the Ukraine and Russia, there has been a big Twitter spat which is probably too complicated to go into. But
yes.
Vladimir Putin claimed Anne of Kiev for establishing Russia-France relations when he was in Versailles on Monday. Ukraine didn't like that because they consider Anne of Kiev to be Ukrainian and not Russian.
Right.
And then Ukraine said, well, while we had Anne of Kiev in the 11th century, this was Moscow here. It was just trees. It didn't exist. In other words, our civilization is older than yours. Meanwhile, in Belgium, the Prime Minister is partly deaf because the sister of the king shot a pistol next to his ear, and he is now having to cancel all sorts of events because he's partly been deafened. One would hope that that is temporary. So when you look at all of that put together, and the
crazy world,
and the fact that Donald Trump, who wants to make America great again / covfefe again.
By inventing new words.
And might be pulling out of the climate accord. The world looks like it's in a pretty crazy place. Some people tweeting about that as well, saying, well, does he realise that his golf courses and his villa in Florida might be under the ocean if he pulls out of this accord? He also didn't like the wind farms in Scotland, by the way.
No. Yeah,
well, they're not good.
Why. All right, not good. Not good. James, thank you very much indeed. James Green in there with Media Watch. Now,